Welcome to Social Aloe Ministries, where we are committed to glorifying God while exposing the devil. If the Lord has called you to be one of his prophets, and you are in right standing with him, you may have encountered an issue that maybe initially you didn't quite expect. And that is, you are declaring the things the Lord has told you to declare, and people are not listening to you. You may find out that you may know a person or other people who are false prophets, and people are more inclined to listen to them as opposed to you. And you may be wondering what happened. Well, if people aren't listening to you, consider yourself in good company. Jeremiah, Isaiah, and Ezekiel all experienced the same thing. A lot of people nowadays, whether they're actually called of the Lord or not, like to quote Jeremiah 1:5 regarding their calling. And I'll read it. And the Lord said, "Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest out of the womb, I sanctified thee. And I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations." If you receive such a calling, you're probably thinking, wow, I'm going to speak and people are going to listen. And there's more. Because the Lord also said in Jeremiah 1:10, "See, I have this day set thee over nations and over kingdoms to root out and to pull down and to destroy and to throw down and to build and to plant." It's a lot of power. As a prophet, you are actually the Lord's instrument for judgment. Yes, in some cases, the Lord will have you declare judgment against others or even nations. But there are times when a judgment will come based on how people treat you, based on how they receive the messages that you proclaim in the name of the Lord. Of course, that is when the Lord sends you to proclaim a message in his name. So I mentioned about Jeremiah 1:5. The Lord called Jeremiah. Then he established all those things. But even the prophet Jeremiah, there are times when he spoke things and people would not listen. And they paid the price. When I say you're in good company, I'll actually start off with the prophet Isaiah, who in Isaiah chapter 30, verses 8 through 10, the Lord said, "Now go, write it before them in a table, and note in a book, that it may be it may be for the time to come, forever and ever. That this is a rebellious people, lying children, children that will not hear the law of the Lord, which say to the seers, See not, and to the prophets, Prophesy not unto us right things. Speak unto us smooth things. Prophesy deceits." So again, if you're declaring things in the name of the Lord, things that he sent you to say, a lot of times people don't want to hear that. They want to hear those feel-good messages. They want to hear smooth things. They want to hear deceits. So again, I'll read what the Lord said. Starting verses Isaiah 30, verses 9 and 10. "This is a rebellious people, lying children, children that will not hear the law of the Lord, which say to the seers, See not, and to the prophets, Prophesy not unto us right things. Speak unto us smooth things. Prophesy deceits." So again, if the Lord has called you to be a prophet, do not be surprised if the things that you're saying, people are not listening, and they're more inclined to listen to the false prophets who are telling them things, most of which will not come to pass. But people are seeking ear-tickling messages. And most of the focus is going to be on Jeremiah, but I'll touch on Ezekiel when the Lord actually called him to be a watchman in Ezekiel chapter 3. And the Lord actually told him beforehand, and some of you, you've been called to be a prophet, but the Lord didn't tell you exactly what to expect from people when you speak things in his name. So in Ezekiel chapter 3, verses 4 through 7, and this is Ezekiel saying, "And he said unto me, Son of man, go, get thee unto the house of Israel, and speak with my words unto them. For thou art sent to a people," or correction, "for thou art not sent to a people of a strange speech, and of a hard language, but to the house of Israel. Not to many people of a strange speech, and of an hard language, whose words thou canst not understand. Surely, had I sent thee to them, they would have hearkened unto thee." The Lord told Ezekiel that if he had sent him to basically another country, they would listen. And we see an example of this in the book of Jonah. The Lord sent the prophet Jonah to Nineveh. And when he finally went and declared what the Lord had said about destroying the city in 40 days, they actually listened to the prophet and they repented. But the Lord actually told Ezekiel, because he's going to the house of Israel, they won't listen. And it continues, "But the house of Israel will not hearken unto thee, for they will not hearken unto me. For all the house of Israel are impudent and hardhearted." So yes, even though the Lord may not have communicated this with you, there are times when he will send you to a place and he knows that they are not going to listen, but he's going to send you anyhow. Because again, as a prophet, you're an instrument of judgment. You don't always have to be the one rendering judgment, but based on how they receive you, based on how they receive the message that you proclaim in the name of the Lord, will determine what happens next. Jeremiah is known as the weeping prophet. He cried out to the nation of Israel, trying to get them turned away. If they had listened, they would have saved themselves 70 years in captivity in Babylon, but because they failed to listen, they suffered the consequences. Now with Jeremiah, I'll go back to Jeremiah 5, 30 through 31. "And the Lord said, A wonderful and horrible thing is committed in the land. The prophets prophesy falsely, and the priests bear rule by their means, and my people love to have it so. And what will ye do in the end thereof?" The Lord let the prophets know, or Jeremiah know, the prophets are prophesying falsely, but the people love it so. So again, do not be discouraged when the Lord sends you somewhere to deliver a message and people do not receive it. And that includes when the Lord lets you know what judgment awaits them if they do not listen. Continuing in Jeremiah 6, verse 10. "To whom shall I speak and give a warning that they may hear? Behold, their ear is uncircumcised, and they cannot hearken. Behold, the word of the Lord is unto them a reproach. They have no delight in it." They won't even listen to the words from the Lord. But the Lord may send you to proclaim it anyhow. In Jeremiah 7, verses 21 through 28, it states, "Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, Put your burnt offerings unto your sacrifices, and eat flesh. For I spake not unto your fathers, nor commanded them in the day that I brought them out of the land of Egypt, concerning burnt offerings or sacrifices. But this thing commanded I them, saying, Obey my voice, and I will be your God, and ye shall be my people. And walk ye in all the ways that I have commanded you, that it may be well unto you. But they hearkened not, nor inclined their ear, but walked in the counsels and in the imagination of their evil heart, and went backward and not forward. Since the day that your fathers came forth out of the land of Egypt, unto this day I have even sent unto you all my servants the prophets, daily rising up early and sending them. Yet they hearkened not unto me, nor inclined their ear, but hardened their neck. They did worse than their fathers. Therefore, thou shalt speak all these words unto them, but they will not hearken unto thee. Thou shalt also call unto them, but they will not answer thee. But thou shalt say unto them, This is a nation that obeyeth not the voice of the Lord their God, nor receiveth correction. Truth is perished, and is cut off from their mouth. The Lord made it clear that the people would not listen to his words, and they would pay the price. Jeremiah spent a lot of time in captivity, being cast in dungeons, cisterns, because people did not want to hear what he had to say. And you make it to the point where you've been saying so many things and people aren't listening. And it's almost like, okay, Lord, you may not want the Lord to give you any messages because it just seems like a waste of time for you to be saying these things. But you have to remain obedient to the Lord. In Jeremiah 20, Jeremiah had an issue with Pashur. And I'll read just a little bit, starting with verses 1 through 2. Now Pashur, the son of Immer, the priest, who was also chief governor in the house of the Lord, heard that Jeremiah prophesied these things. Then Pashur smote Jeremiah the prophet. Their people who weren't even prophets of the Lord, using what the Lord said about, touch not mine anointed, do my prophets no harm. Well, here's Jeremiah paying the price. He suffered physical harm as a result of declaring the word of the Lord. And I read again. Then Pashur smote Jeremiah the prophet and put him in the stocks that were in the high gate of Benjamin, which was by the house of the Lord. Put him in the stocks, arrested him, because he prophesied things from the Lord, things they did not want to hear. And it continues. Jeremiah, when he was arrested, he started prophesying to Pashur, and he said, And thou, Pashur, and all that dwell in thine house, shall go into captivity, and thou shalt come to Babylon, and there thou shalt die, and shalt be buried there, thou and all thy friends to whom thou hast prophesied lies. Again, a lot of times, people do not want to hear the true prophets of the Lord. They want to hear lies. They want to hear lies. O Lord, now this is Jeremiah saying, O Lord, thou hast deceived me, and I was deceived. Thou art stronger than I, and hast prevailed. I am in derision daily. Everyone mocketh me. This is the same Jeremiah who the Lord told in Jeremiah 1:5 that before he was born, he ordained him as a prophet. In Jeremiah 10, talking about how he installed him as a prophet to uproot, to tear down, all these powerful things. But now the prophets complain that he's been deceived because people are mocking him. They would not receive the messages that he was declaring in the name of the Lord, the messages from the Lord. For since I spake, I cried out. I cried violence and spoil, because the word of the Lord was made a reproach unto me, and a derision daily. Then I said, I will not make mention of him, nor speak any more in his name. But his word was in mine heart as a burning fire, shut up in my bones, and I was weary of forbearing, and I could not stay. With this, a lot of times, especially younger prophets, think that the word of the Lord, when the Lord wants them to declare something, that it has to be like a fire shut up in their bones. A part of the reason why it was a fire shut up in Jeremiah's bones was because he was holding on to a word of the Lord beyond the time that the Lord wanted him to say it. So it became harder and harder for him to declare it. So even though Jeremiah was frustrated, even though Jeremiah may have been at the point where he didn't want to say anything else from the Lord because of the reception that he was receiving, he had to continue speaking. You may have hit that point where there are times you just want to shut down, but when something from the Lord comes to you and you're commanded to speak it, whichever way the Lord commands you to speak it, you just must. And it continues. For I heard the defaming of many, fear on every side. Report, say they, and we will report it. All my familiars watched for my halting, saying, peradventure, he will be enticed, and we shall prevail against him, and we shall take our revenge on him. Jeremiah was making enemies by declaring things from the Lord. That's one of those reasons why people don't truly want to hear what a true prophet of the Lord has to say. Yes, there are times when maybe those feel-good messages, but people don't like to hear those messages, especially those that points out their sin, that cause them to repent. They don't want to hear those. They want to hear the smooth things, the deceit. But because Jeremiah was telling things, he was telling them about war while other prophets were talking about peace. But Jeremiah was the one who was speaking on behalf of the Lord. But the Lord is with me as a mighty, terrible one. Therefore, my persecutors shall stumble, and they shall not prevail. They shall be greatly ashamed, for they shall not prosper. Their everlasting confusion shall never be forgotten. And I'll share one more with you, another example of why Jeremiah is called the weeping prophet. In Jeremiah 36, Jeremiah was actually incarcerated again. So he sent his scribe Baruch to deliver a message. The king heard the message, didn't like it, so he had them cut the scroll, throw it into the fire. Regardless of how you as a prophet may have delivered a message, there are times when people do not want to receive it, and it will be to their detriment. Again, as a prophet, you are an instrument of judgment. Either you're declaring judgment against people, or the Lord may not have you say anything. But based on how they treat you, based on how they receive that word that you have declared or that you have from the Lord, is how they will reap the consequences. In Galatians, we're told that God cannot be mocked, and a person reaps what he or she sows. But there are other scriptures that let us know that there are times when we sow the wind and we reap the whirlwind. An example of this is in Jeremiah 36, verses 37 through 32. Then the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah after that the king had burned the roll. And the words which Baruch wrote at the mouth of Jeremiah, saying, Take thee again another roll, and write in it all the former words that were in the first roll, which Jehoiakim the king of Judah hath burned. And thou shalt say to Jehoiakim the king of Judah, Thus saith the Lord, Thou hast burned this roll, saying, why hast thou written therein, saying, the king of Babylon shall certainly come and destroy this land, and shall cause to cease from thence man and beast. Therefore, thus saith the Lord of Joachim, king of Judah, he shall have none to sit upon the throne of David, and his dead body shall be cast out in the day to the heat, and in the night to the frost. And I will punish him and his deeds and his servants for their iniquity. And I will bring upon them, and upon the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and upon the men of Judah, all the evil that I have pronounced against them, but they hearkened not. Then took Jeremiah another roll, and gave it to Baruch the scribe, the son of Neriah, who wrote therein from the mouth of Jeremiah all the words of the book which Jehoiakim, the king of Judah, had burned in fire, and there were added besides unto them many like words. So yes, the Lord may have called you as a prophet. He may have specified prophet to the nations. And actually in today's age, it's not as significant as you think. But the Lord may have called you to be a prophet. And things have not been going well as far as you can see. Because you've been saying things. You've been declaring things that the Lord has told you to declare. But people aren't listening. And in some cases, they've basically been trying to kill the messenger, you. Others may be trying to kill your ministry. But that is okay. As long as you are doing what the Lord has called you to do, that is all you need to worry about. Yes, you may be like Jeremiah, constantly weeping and interceding for people, those you are trying to help, but they will not receive you or the messages that you have from the Lord. There's a price for them to pay. And it may be even further complicated when you see the false prophets, where people are more attentive to the things that they have to say. Consider yourself in good company. Ezekiel, Isaiah, Jeremiah, they were given messages from the Lord that people did not want to listen to. But keep being obedient to the Lord. Declare whatever He tells you to do. If they fail to listen, the Lord will deal with them appropriately in His time. God bless you.